China's skyline is growing taller every year. Shanghai Tower will become the tallest building after its final phase is completed. But this crown may not last very long. CCTV's Lynn Knopf brings us the inside story of the skyscraper boom.
China has been making some insane innovations in its skyscrapers, and some of them are honestly terrifying.
Imagine the views you'd see. It would be amazing.
From skyscrapers that build themselves to elevators that run faster than cars.
The elevator's a great invention because what it's enabled us to do is to build a whole world and to live in that world safely and comfortably that would have been unimaginable before the 19th century.
And towers that lean on each other, these structures defy logic.
You were starting to see the early signs of what are going to be skyscrapers.
Join me as we go through some of the most interesting skyscrapers China has built, starting with Beijing's intelligent building machine. The CTF Tower in Beijing, China, has a rather unique construction history that will shock you. The entire tower, standing at 1,732 feet tall with 109 stories, was built from the ground up by a self-climbing behemoth. As this giant machine climbed up the tower, new stories appeared out of thin air, one after the other. And the way this happened is mind-boggling. When China was planning to build the CTF Tower, it decided to utilize a rather unique construction technology known as the Intelligent Micro-Bump Jacking Formwork System. This giant machine climbed up the tower, creating floor after floor as it went, using what is known in the construction industry as formwork. A formwork is like a mold in which concrete can be poured, and an entire floor plan emerges completely built. Now, this technology is quite the norm in the construction industry.
And we'd have a very different looking world if we didn't have that.
But what is different about the formwork used in the CTF Tower is that it was self-climbing. Using a complex set of hydraulics and jacks, the entire structure was moving vertically.
There are obviously precursors, which is about moving platforms up and down, but they're deeply unsafe.
Once one story had been poured and hardened, the formwork would climb up to it, and the work on the next story would begin. Rinse and repeat, and you have the entire CTF Tower built to completion. But this giant machine wasn't just a mold. It was so much more. Inside, builders had their own space to work, as well as 4 cranes and several concrete distributors. And all of that was part of the main platform being moved alongside it. Think of it like a complete skyscraper factory, crawling up like a train building its own track, only vertically. And protecting it all was an outer shell that prevented the strong wind from interfering with the work. So what was the benefit? Well, this construction process saved 1 day for each floor built compared to conventional methods. Now that may seem like a small difference at first, but once you look at the statistics, you realize how important this was. The use of the Intelligent Micro-Bump Jacking Formwork System saved a total of 100 days for the construction of the CTF Tower. And that translated to $8 million worth of expenses being saved due to the quicker completion of the project, as well as the added profit from the building being operational sooner than it would have been if conventional construction techniques had been used. Now that may seem fast, but this isn't even the quickest made building in China by a long shot. The Speed Demon. Known as the T30 Hotel, this 30-story hotel was built from scratch in just 15 days. A skyscraper is built in less time than it takes to build a house. It may sound like some magic trick, but hidden behind this feat is perhaps the most important construction revolution in modern times. You see, China has pioneered a new type of construction technique known as a prefabricated modular construction system. There are essentially 2 steps to this building process that make it so fast and versatile. First, the modules for a building are made, not on the construction site, but rather in factories. These modules aren't simply like concrete slabs and ceiling sections. Rather, these are complete mainboards, which are building sections with all the systems pre-installed. Plumbing, electrical wiring, HVAC, interior finishing, everything is already built into each section. Most of the building is built like this, from the floor to the walls to the roof. For the T30 Hotel, 93% of the entire structure had been pre-built. Next, these sections are taken to the construction site to be assembled. The process is almost like building with Legos. Each section connects seamlessly with the others. Every pipe connects perfectly, every wire connected. The precision involved when making each segment in the factory leaves no room for mistakes. The building rises from the grounds up at an insane speed. I mean, while the T30 hotel being built in 15 days is impressive, the same company that built it also made a 57-story tall skyscraper called the Sky City in just 19 days. That's even more impressive. But here is the thing. This isn't just about speed. The prefabricated modular construction system has several other advantages that matter even more. For instance, since most of the building is constructed in factories with higher precision and efficiency, there is far less construction waste produced in the process, and much less energy is consumed overall. For a country so invested in going green and helping prevent environmental pollution, this is a huge and necessary win. Additionally, the prefabricated modular construction system is made with a much higher quality standard in mind when most of the building's segments are being built in a controlled environment. That makes the buildings made this way very resistant to natural disasters like earthquakes. The factories are able to easily build in redundancies for each segment, allowing the load to be redistributed effectively in case one connection or joint fails. The Green Giant. China isn't just about building fast. They are also taking huge steps towards sustainability.
If you have a very rigid building, it's probably going to be a very expensive building.
And the Shanghai Tower is the perfect example of why China is doing so well at this compared to most other first-world countries. Located in Lujiazui, the Shanghai Tower is a giant that towers over the skyline. With 128 floors, it stands tall at 2,073 feet. That makes it the tallest building in all of China, and the third largest in the world. But despite being the third, this building has what no other super-tall tower exceeding it in height does, and that is sustainability. The Shanghai Tower is filled with technological innovation. The standout feature of the structure is the wind turbines located at its apex. These 270 turbines work day and night, producing energy from the wind that flows against the tower constantly.
The idea, the twist, is to reduce wind loads. And it saves a lot of money. So that's sort of scientific and aesthetic.
With a total of 350,000 kilowatt hours of electricity produced, this energy feeds into the building's electrical grid, supplementing the total power being used year-round. Not only does that help save money in the long run, but it also helps the Shanghai Tower be less reliant on non-ecological energy sources. But that is only part of the whole. There are many more sustainability features built into the structure. For instance, there is a rainwater harvesting system running through the building like veins, collecting the rainwater for reuse. Additionally, a good chunk of the wastewater is reutilized as well. Around the towers are double-layered glass facades that help with insulation, which once again helps reduce energy expenditure. Not only that, but geothermal sources have been incorporated into the design of the building to help heat the building in winter. However, the biggest sustainability feature of the entire structure was its construction itself. The Shanghai Tower was built in a way that the process itself helped reduce the impact on the environment. Here is how. When you look at Shanghai Tower's design, you will notice that the entire structure rotates about 120 degrees as it rises. This isn't just for style. Instead, this design philosophy serves a rather important function. After all, this twist means that there is less material used for the construction of the building, helping cut down on waste. But that wasn't the sole aim. Twisting the structure this way was also vital for preventing the skyscraper from toppling over. The region in which the Shanghai Tower is located is prone to high-speed winds and storms. By creating this spiral, the architects essentially provided a clearer route for the air to flow, reducing the overall wind load on the structure by 24%.
The twisted building has a much more wind reduction, which compared to a square building will reduce about 24% of a wind load.
While that design certainly helps combat strong winds, it wasn't easy to build. Experts had to figure out a way to create a slight shift in angle with each floor they constructed. In the end, each story of the tower is twisted at an angle of about 1 degree, allowing for a full twist of 120 degrees. The Wind Warrior. Standing tall at 1,966 feet tall, the Pingan Finance Center is the highest building in Shenzhen.
Today we will visit the second most tallest building in China, the Pingan Financial Center.
And the 5th tallest in the world. But that's not what marks it as one of China's greatest architectural achievements. The main reason why engineers look at this skyscraper with awe is that, despite being located in one of the most typhoon-prone regions of China, with extreme temperatures during summer and winter, this tower has never fallen. And that isn't because of luck. Behind it is careful planning, a complex design, and human ingenuity. From the very beginning, the Pingan Finance Center was made to bear the worst nature could throw at it. And that is reflected in how the whole structure was constructed. Special attention was paid to the foundation during the construction process. The foundations were built deeper than you normally would for a building this tall. That was done to ensure greater stability and strength throughout the structure. Next, the composite concrete core was built with steel outriggers, and this core in turn was connected to 8 super columns. Combined, this provided enough stability for the skyscrapers to easily withstand typhoons. The speed at which the tower arose was mind-boggling. One floor would usually rise in just 4 days, and this pace was maintained for months. 3,000 workers were operating in shifts to ensure construction went on 24/7, no downtime at all. But the work wasn't done yet. Engineers also ensured that the overall design of the building would allow minimal wind load. The unique shape of the structure lets the wind through or diverts it like a blade. And all those efforts have proven effective. During the several typhoons and storms that the Pingan Finance Center has weathered, there has never been any serious damage to the structure.
If you love skyscrapers, futuristic cityscapes, this is the place for you.
The Super Typhoon Mangkhut in 2018, which wreaked havoc on the city, only exerted enough pressure on the building to move about 50% of its designed range based on its mass damper. That means it could have swayed twice as far without any problem, though a typhoon capable of doing that is highly unlikely. Needless to say, the Pingan Finance Center is one of the safest buildings ever made in the world. But still, just to be safe, the entire building has been outfitted with sensors that constantly monitor for cracks or extreme stress. This lets engineers know in advance if anything is about to go wrong. CCTV headquarters. Located in Guanghua, China, this 51-story skyscraper looks like it is about to fall, but in reality, it has stood like that for over 18 years. And the reason why this structure can lean like that and still stand tall is fascinating.
It's absolutely fantastic. We live and work in a skyscraper. We see how the systems we designed work.
You see, the architects haven't designed this thing as one building, even if it seems like it at first glance. Rather, what you are seeing are 2 towers. The interesting thing is that both these towers appear to be leaning, but compared to their base, both of them are perfectly stable, rising semi-vertically. And once they reach their maximum height, that's where the magic happens. It may seem like the entire top section is hanging in the air without any support, but that couldn't be farther from the truth. In reality, these are 2 facades extending from each tower connecting mid-air. These facades, jutting out at 90 degrees from their respective towers, create the impression that they are floating high above with supposedly no support, though making this illusion possible is no magic. Rather, it is all science, physics, and careful planning. Just how much planning are we talking about? Well, when engineers wanted to connect the 2 facades together at the apex of the 2 towers, they ran into a problem. During the day, both segments were expanding and shrinking due to temperature variation. Engineers realized that they couldn't connect the 2 segments together during the day. Otherwise, the varying stress could cause structural damage. So they came up with a clever solution. The experts waited for nightfall. And just before sunrise, when the temperature of both towers was the same, the facades were connected. It had to be done fast in order to prevent any temperature variance, however small it may be. It was a tough task, connecting each metal bar in the short span of time they had. But the builders succeeded and created this marvel. Now the question is, if such a huge portion of the structure is hanging mid-air like that, just how durable can it be? The answer is, very. The CCTV headquarters is capable of withstanding Category 8 earthquakes thanks to its strong steel grid. So while it may look like a magic trick, the CCTV headquarters is one of the safest high-rises in the world. Pearl River Tower. The Pearl River Tower, located in Guangzhou, hides a rather interesting secret in its design. Despite being 1,015 feet tall, this giant only has 71 stories. And that's because if you look closely, you will notice that some sections of the building have openings in them. And well, these aren't just for aesthetics. They serve a rather important function. You see, when Pearl River Tower was being designed, experts wanted it to be a net zero skyscraper, meaning it won't need any energy from the outside to operate. The tower would produce its own clean electricity, and maybe even produce a surplus to sell to the grid. Here is how they went about making that dream a reality. The main energy-producing component in the structure are the wind turbines. Now, many skyscrapers utilize these to produce some extra energy and reduce operational costs. But in the case of Pearl River Tower, the utilization of wind turbines took center stage.
The Pearl River Tower uses air only once, creating a much healthier building.
Having a healthy environment was something that was absolutely critical.
Instead of just one or two, the tower had a total of 4 openings that fed air directly into wind turbines to produce as much air as possible. The wind scoop design in these openings means that the speed of the air is amplified by the time it reaches the turbines. Under normal operation, the wind speed doubles through this design, allowing for an increased energy output. Additionally, instead of using regular wind turbines, the experts opted for vertical axis variants that produce 15 times more energy. But creating these openings did have its drawbacks. They had to reduce the number of available interior spaces to make room for the openings, the turbines, and the accompanying generator and apparatus. However, the lost revenue in terms of reduced floor space was more than made up for by the green energy, bringing down reliance on external sources. And it was just this unique utilization of wind turbines that helped the Pearl River Tower save up on energy costs. There are also many other features that help cut down on energy consumption. The double-skin facade and triple-glazed exterior mean that heat from the sun gets trapped more efficiently within the structure. That helps keep things warm in winter naturally.
The way to think about this is like a sponge. The building will have a breathable skin. It will use its envelope to regulate not only how much light comes in the building, but the temperature and the amount of radiation that is allowed to penetrate into the building.
Additionally, all the lighting in the Pearl River Tower is designed to be highly efficient. All these factors combined help the Pearl River Tower to be more energy efficient and self-sustaining. But unfortunately, the dream of net zero remained a dream. Not because it was possible, but because of local fire codes and local power company restrictions, the proposed net positive designs were not approved. Today, the Pearl River Tower remains one of the least power-consuming skyscrapers in the world, using 40% of the energy that an equivalent-sized building would require to operate. Makes you wonder how better it could have been had it not been for those restrictions. CTF Finance Center. The CTF Finance Center in Guangzhou is sometimes known as the Speed Demon, not because of how fast it was constructed, but rather because of how fast its elevators operate. Once you enter the building, you can get to the 95th floor in just 43 seconds. Let's put that into perspective. The 2 high-speed elevators used between these floors reach a speed of 69 feet per second.
In order to reduce this time to destination, advanced technologies are being used with varying degrees of success.
In a minute, they can reach over 3,900 feet. And the technology that makes it possible is quite impressive. Developed by Hitachi, these 2 elevators were designed to perfection. There were multiple problems that had to be overcome to make this kind of speed possible. First was the question of wind resistance. Normal elevators don't have to be aerodynamic since they don't move fast enough for it to matter. But for the CTF Tower elevators, that had to be a factor that needed to be accounted for. The shells of the elevators were carefully crafted to provide minimal wind resistance in order to maximize speed. The cables of the elevators also had to be custom-made to be tougher compared to normal ones. Their positioning, points of attachment, and tensile strength all had to be managed precisely in order to ensure the elevator cabin remained stable even at the highest speed. The biggest challenge, however, was safety. Special safety precautions had to be developed to ensure that in case of something going wrong, there were enough fail-safe mechanisms to ensure the elevator came to a complete stop without injuring the passengers.
This elevator can carry 20 passengers up and down a 30-story vertical shaft. If its speed got out of control, the consequences could be disastrous.
Special rollers and guides were utilized that could slow down the cart even in emergencies. While all that was enough to ensure the smooth operation of these elevators, there was one more thing to be accounted for. The CTF Tower is super tall, standing at 1,739 feet with 111 floors. And with guests having to ride the elevator to nearly the top of the structure in just 43 seconds, there is one big problem. Their ears would pop due to the sudden altitude change. Ear popping is a phenomenon that happens in airplanes or when you climb a tall mountain, where your eardrums feel weird. The engineers had to find a way to prevent that from happening with the CTF Tower. And the solution they came up with was to create a sealed chain within the elevator, where air pressure is carefully managed during ascent to prevent the passengers' ears from popping. So much technology and engineering have gone into making these elevators work, and they remain China's pride. These two elevators hold the world record for being the fastest in the world. That doesn't mean that they are the only impressive things about the CTF Tower. The building itself is a piece of art as well. It is the 8th tallest in the world and the 3rd tallest in China. And what stands out the most about it is how it blends nature with modernity. While most skyscrapers use glass or steel facades, the CTF Tower uses terracotta mullions. This building material has links to Eastern architectural history while also being very environmentally friendly. That way, it provides the perfect blend of tradition and eco-friendliness. Additionally, the CTF Tower is famous for its architectural sophistication with well-planned out floor plans, a facade system that keeps out heat, and a solar panel podium roof. Phoenix Towers. The Phoenix Towers are not something that China has already built, but an unprecedented feat that the nation is planning to achieve in the near future. The Chinese government plans to leave Dubai in the dust by building a super tall in Wuhan, which would become the tallest skyscraper in the world. While the Burj Khalifa is only 2,717 feet tall, the proposed Phoenix Towers is going to be a staggering 3,300 feet in height. China planned to build this giant by 2018, but the construction was put on hold and hasn't started even today. But if China proceeds with the plan sometime soon, the whole project is expected to cost over $1 billion. And it's not like China is planning just one tower. The Phoenix Towers are a set of two. The taller Feng structure is supposed to present the male, while the slightly smaller Huang Tower will represent the female. The smaller Huang Tower will be home to the world's tallest garden, but the most standout feature is the ground these structures will stand upon. China plans to build both towers on an artificial island created in a lake that would cover about 7 hectares of land, quite enough to accommodate the towers and much more. Both towers are planned to be super eco-friendly. They will be covered on the outside with solar panels. They will also be outfitted with wind turbines, biomass boilers, and hydrogen fuel cells for green energy production. Plus, the structures will tap into geothermal natural sources to acquire heating. So is China about to dethrone Dubai? Let me know in the comments down below. I would love to hear your thoughts. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.